Welcome to Hickory Street Podcast. I'm going to be doing a music review. It's been a while since I've done one of these. So let's get to it. I typically just choose three albums that I have been listening to on repeat. And it's definitely been a while since I've done one. So I've actually been listening to quite a bit of music recently. And I have a entire back catalog of new bands that I've found, or just like new musicians that I've found, and I really want to do a couple more music reviews, but I want to space them out. And this way, like you're getting the the best of the best suggestions, I think, because there's some albums that I think I like a lot, and then I don't listen to them again after a couple of weeks or months, and realized maybe I didn't like them as much. But so let's get to it. The first band is actually a solo project, I'm pretty sure. It's called 1-800-Mikey. It's kind of a funny name, but I came across them the most recently. Let me go back here. So this album called Plushie was released April 1st of 2022. So it's a fairly new album. The album is super lo-fi. It's very grainy sounding is probably a good way to describe it. The song that really jumped out at me on this album was called Pressure. It's the third song on the album. Hold Me, the second song on the album's pretty good too. But as far as I can tell, lyrically, I think it's a pretty typical style of songwriting for an indie punk vibe. The songs seem very, how do I say this? They seem very emo-esque, just kind of about relationships, and growing up, I guess. But there isn't too much online about this artist, surprisingly enough. I see that he did an article. I don't know what the guy's actual name is. It doesn't really say. But oh, here's an article here. Okay, Michael Barker is his name. Okay, that makes sense with the 1-800-Mikey then. It looks like he did a an interview for Gimme Zine. I've never heard of that. It's just an indie publication, just like a fanzine, I guess. But it looks like it looks like his dad was a musician. He was playing in Chile, which is kind of cool. Uh, his dad introduced him to music, and he's from Sydney, Australia. So there's been a lot of really cool bands coming from coming out from Australia. I've always kind of noticed that, but like this album in particular, like you can't even tell just by listening that he's from Australia because it's so grainy and like uh, fuzzy. You can't even really hear a lot of his vocals. I can only really like pick out bits and pieces, but um, it looks like he's kind of a local band kid. Uh, there's a funny picture uh, on this website where he does the interviews. Like he's got his arm around like a literal fan, and he's like got his shirt tucked in, and I guess he's holding a beer. It seems pretty funny, but all around good vibes, very energetic. It looks like he had a friend of his play drums on the album. Um, Claw Machine, is that on this album? Yeah, this might be his only album. Let me check. He's got 2 EPs that were released before 2019. His EP Appreciate It was released, and then in 2020 he had an EP released called just self-titled 1-800-Mikey. Um, you know, it's kind of cool finding bands like this because our band released our first album in 2019, and then the pandemic hit, and then we released our second album in like 2021. So it was kind of a situation where like things were still kind of closed for the most part. So it's cool to see that some of these albums are trending now, some of these new ones that have been released this year. And it's definitely one that, like, as soon as I heard it, I sent it to my friend Justin. I was just like, dude, you gotta listen to this. I know you'll like this. So, anyways, not much to talk about there. Just a cool indie band from Sydney, Australia. Next album I want to talk about is actually a rap album. And if you don't know, I actually listen to a lot of rap. I kind of grew up with it in a way. Just like my mom listened to a lot of like R&B stuff and country. Her music taste was kind of all over the place. So I kind of grew up with R&B, hip hop, rap, because like I remember being like really small. My mom was obsessed with country, so my first musical experiences were with country. And then she kind of deviated away from that and started listening to hip hop and rap, and that's primarily what she listens to. A lot of pop music too. So, but this rap artist is Conway the Machine, and the album is called God Don't Make Mistakes. And I just gotta say, this is probably one of the most unique rap albums I've heard in a long time. And it's new. It was released in February of 2022, so it's not even a year old yet. I'm surprised that I haven't heard this before, or haven't heard of him before, because apparently he's been a musician for a pretty long time. He started releasing music in 2012, it looks like, and he's out of Buffalo, New York. It seems like he released a lot of mixtapes before he kind of started writing professional albums in 2019. It looks like his first official album release might have been, let's see here. I'm gonna try to find it. I'm gonna dive deep into this guy. So that's an LP. That's an album. Reject 2. That's probably a mixtape. Black Tape 2018. 2019 present studio albums. First single was with DJ Premier titled Headlines. So that was the first single. And then he released Bang at the time, expected to be the first single of his album, from his album God Don't Make Mistakes, alongside Eminem on July 2019. God Don't Make Mistakes had been intended to be Conway's debut studio albums, and Westside Gunn had stated it was 90% complete in 2018. However, Kanye's first studio album would instead be the project From King to a God, which he released on September 11th, 2020. During this period, Conway continued releasing mixtapes. Wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. So, King to a God was like his first album officially. And it looks like there was some mixtape or like some EPs that were released in 2019. These might be just like mixtapes that he released. I'm looking on his Spotify account right now, and I see a couple singles. Okay, so From King to a God. So, okay, so that was released in 2020. Man, this guy's been writing a lot of projects. But this album, Conway the Machine, God Don't Make Mistakes, is amazing. And I think probably my favorite song on the album, it's got to be a tie between Tear Gas and Drum Work. Those two songs are really good. Tear Gas, Lil Wayne is featured on the song, and Lil Wayne's verse on that song is so complicated. I just gotta point that out there. It's like, I don't know how the fuck he wrote something like that. Like, I've listened to it a couple of times, and I keep trying to follow his phrasing, and it just it doesn't make sense. So I guess it makes sense in a way, like why I haven't heard of Conway the Machine, because his first album was literally in 2020. But I mean, it seems like he's been making some heavy noise in the underground rap scene, which is pretty cool. It's really cool to get put onto a rapper that is just now releasing his own stuff, or on under his own name for the most part. I'm sure he got a lot of attention probably featuring on people's songs. Because it looks like on his Spotify page he's got a lot of he's got a lot of singles and stuff that he's been featured on and stuff. So really cool. There's the I cannot like pinpoint his style of rapping very well. I just don't. It's just so foreign to me. It's very new. But there's a what is that rap album called? I'm just gonna find it just because it's like a good reference. But they have this. They have a song called Best Dressed Devils. What is his name? Um, there it is. West Side Gun. Okay, so yeah. It mentioned that in his Wikipedia page there. So yeah, West Side Gun. Whenever I first like when Spotify first threw me this album, it's called Hitler Wears Hermes 8 Side B. So, but whenever Spotify like first threw this to me, I thought it was Action Bronson at first because I was listening to a lot of Action Bronson at the time, and his voice like sounds kind of similar. I don't know. I hadn't been listening to him in a while, and so like Spotify just threw something at me that I wasn't like prepared for, and yeah. So this album, Hitler Wears Hermes 8 Side B, it's 20 songs, and man, like lyrically, he has some bars. That's all I gotta say. Man. So something interesting about Conway the Machine too is that like if you look up pictures of him, his mouth like sits to the side like this, and it's like kind of permanently like that. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure exactly how that happened, but reading on his Wikipedia page, apparently in 2012 he got shot in the neck and in the shoulder, and uh, it left like permanent nerve damage to one side of his face. So like one side of his face is like somewhat paralyzed, but it actually influences his rapping style because he has like a permanent slur and like the way he pronounces his vowels and stuff. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Just like the way it sounds. I mean, it's obviously not cool that he got shot, but but don't get that wrong. Just like I'm not pro gun violence. um, but yeah, definitely listen to that album. God Don't Make Mistakes. Very deep lyrically. Very cool. Um, so the last album I want to talk about is an album that's self-titled by a band called Dark Thoughts, and this album's from 2016. Uh, and I don't know what it is about this punk album, but it's just like it just hits. It just hits me like in the right spot. So, uh, like it just starts off like so perfect as far as energy goes. It's like the the sound of the recording is very minimal, which is my favorite, and is probably like a more refined lo-fi sound. So you can tell that he's not like that they're or there because they're a band, but you can tell that they're not putting a bunch of money into production and like pure isolation and mixing. It's probably just a couple of people doing it on their own, something like that, or like in a dingy, studio where they could do it fairly cheap or something. But the band is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, one of my favorite like places, just in general. I've visited there whenever I was young. with my family, and I've always said that if I ever lived anywhere else, it would probably be Philadelphia, like outside of Texas. I just love it. Just the history, being a history nerd, and just like I don't know, Philadelphia seems to be like one of those places that a lot of things kind of come together. Like a lot of cultures come together, like and kind of clash with each other, and there's some cool friction that happens, and um, it just seems like a really, I don't know, it just seems like a really ambitious and intellectually driven city, and just like the culture, and um, you have people that are just working their ass off trying to make a living, and people talking about things, and I think that probably some remnants of the origin of the country kind of being there, because if you don't know, Philadelphia was actually the first capital of the United States. So, but anyways, so Dark Thoughts 2016. They've released a lot of music since then, but on this album, I would say the first two songs are the best. Identity Crisis and No More Soul. They do the whole like one song goes into the next song and it sounds like it's the same song kind of deal. Super cool. I've always loved that, and just playing those two songs back to back on repeat has sort of been my thing recently. So, check out all those bands. You're gonna love them. And if there's any other music or any other genres that you think I should look into, let me know. I primarily listen to punk and rap, so I feel like a lot of the music that I cover will probably end up being punk and rap. So it'd be nice to just get some suggestions from people, because sometimes I kind of like stick into my little bubble. And people find it odd that I listen to punk and rap, but they're oddly similar in a lot of ways. So I guess it kind of makes sense. Just like minimalistic, but creative at the same time. But, anyways, thanks for listening, and thanks for watching on Instagram. I'm going to see if I can share this to my story or on the page, something like that. So, all right. Bye.